Hi, I'm Clutching. This is a tutorial for the Gem God cycle in Generator Room. This is applicable to all categories but any percent. This is intended for PC players, but console players may also find some use out of this. There will be timestamps for the different sections down in the description. Just a quick clarification before we get into it. Do not use the analog stick in this level. You can use the D-pad, you can use keyboard, just don't use the analog stick. Trust me. Thanks. Starting off with this 3 stack, don't be too close to it when you spin and don't be too far away from it, plain and simple. Hold the spin button as well while you approach it, and that'll help a lot. Then let the last crate bonk on your head and just proceed. When breaking the box above the TNT, just make sure you tap spin and don't hold it, and you shouldn't break the TNT. You also need to make sure that you spin early because you need time to let your spin timer cool down so that you can spin the robot that's coming up as well. Then just as you're playing through the level, generally you want to be in the air for as much time as you can because being in the air is faster than being on the ground. And then with the bonus tokens, you want to start moving like as it's about to become available so that you're not wasting time just standing there as you pick it up. You're going to want to do this with all 3 bonus tokens actually. You don't have to worry about edging it out too much though, the cycle is really not that tight.
And then moving on to these crates within the ground, it is pretty tricky at first to know how to land, but you eventually will get used to the depth perception if you practice it enough. For actually spinning the crates that are in the ground themselves, it's pretty janky, but it is consistent. You have to spin as you land next to them, or slightly before you land in this case. This is an individual mechanic that'll definitely take some practicing and getting used to. Then getting all 5 of these crates in one spin can be a little tricky. But as long as you're standing about where I'm standing when you spin, and you just don't spin too early, generally you should be fine. You'll be able to practice and get good at this. Anyways, just spin this crate as you jump off it, and then get the rest of the boxes and be on your way. Again, just try to keep things smooth, jump as much as you can, get the bonus tokens on the last possible frame that you are comfortable with, etc. And then the robot's going to be in your way during the completion cycle. That's okay, you can just spin them, plain and simple. And then fortunately the diagonal jump onto this vertical platform is free. This is because you should be making it while it's at its lowest point. Then just keep going until you get to this last vertical platform. Then you want to do a full jump as early as you can off of this platform while it's rising. You even need to pick up the bonus token and enter the bonus room fast, and then play the bonus room fast because the cycles don't pause while you're in the bonus room. There is an alternative method to getting into the bonus room more quickly, and that's by using this robot to snipe the bonus room token crate. This is faster because you'd usually have to wait on the final vertical platform anyways, and now you don't have to wait for the bonus token hitbox to be available because it's already available by the time you get there. However, I would argue that this is much more difficult and it's also not necessary. However, you just do whatever you find comfortable. But you do end up catching the same cycle no matter which method you use, assuming you're fast enough. As for the bonus room itself, thankfully it's like one of the easiest ones in Island 3. I don't know why it's so easy, but it is. Basically, just try to optimize your movement by not doing any high bounces. That is, by holding X to extend your bounce. You can do it a little bit on that big gap in the middle if you're comfortable with that. It definitely doesn't change whether or not you'd make the cycle as long as you're fast enough. And then running onto the portal, don't jump onto the portal, just run onto it. Jumping onto it is much slower because the animation for leaving doesn't actually start until you land on the portal. As long as you try to run onto it from the right side of that green line and not the left side of that green line, you'll be fine. If you try to run into it from the left side of the green line, however, you're probably just going to end up running into it like it's a wall. You're not going to step on it that way.
You can also opt to spin the first box like Ray Mandicoot does here. Just make sure you don't accidentally spin the second box in the process, and it's a good trick to catching the cycle more easily.
Now coming out of the bonus room, you'll know you're on good pace if you see the first vertical platform to your right moving upwards. If you see it while it's at its vertical peak or you see it coming down, you are far too slow. You need to be seeing it while it's going up. Because if you don't see it while it's going upwards, you're not going to be fast enough to make it to the second platform in time.
So as you make your way through these elevating platforms, when you get to the 4th one, you want to come to a halt. Wait until the platform that you're standing on starts to rise, and then when it does, move to the right and land on that platform in front of you as quickly as possible.
You then want to spin to extend your hitbox to barely nick this crate stack without going too far right, and then going straight down onto the moving platform. If you go too far to the right, then you're not going to make it to this platform fast enough. Now in preparation for the blind jump, you want Crash's feet to be within this green circle somewhere. This is important for several reasons. If you don't stay within the same general area on this platform, then the camera is going to move and be different, so that's why you want to be in the same sort of general area on this platform every time. And just to clarify now, the position of the camera is important due to a visual cue that we are going to use later. Furthermore, in order to actually make the 3D jump, you have to line yourself up in the middle of this bottom left part of the octagonal platform. So this is the part where you want to jump off. And finally, I just want to say that you can't be on the edge of the platform. You have to be sort of closer to the middle. Not only to keep the camera consistent, but also because if you're on the edge of the platform, you're not going to be running for long enough to get Crash to full speed for the jump. Because Crash doesn't go from 0 to 100 in 2 frames. Now, as for a visual cue for when to actually perform the blind jump, I use this metallic circle on top of whatever this orange ball thing is.
Whenever you can see that entire circle, go ahead and do the jump.
The platform's going to be going from left to right when you land on it, so when you land, just do another jump over to the other platforms and you've done it. Now I'm just going to briefly compare the way that I do it compared to the way that my friend Jamie does it, just to show some clear variation in the blind jump. So as I slow the clips way down, you'll see that I jump way before my friend Jamie jumps. This massive amount of variation between the times in which I jump compared to the time in which Jamie jumps is okay, because of how the cycles line up in completion. Since the platform we're jumping onto is going from left to right and we're going from up to down, we can pretty much jump as late as we want. However, the later you jump, the slower you'll be. But it's not that much of a difference.
And that's about the cycle, that about covers it, so now let's move on to further optimizations.
The first one I'd like to talk about is this diagonal jump off this platform without having to wait for it. This is done easier in mask form, but is also definitely possible without mask form. However, if you did the God cycle correctly, you should have mask form here anyway. On screen is a beautiful diagram drawn by yours truly to better help me explain how to make this jump. You're jumping off this octagon up here and aiming for this black square down here. In an ideal world, this is how it would look, with a perfect 45-degree diagonal jump represented by this line right here.
But it's not a perfect world, so in reality it looks a bit more like this.
But this level is performed using the D-pad, so anything that's not a 45-degree angle is not ideal because it means a whole lot of tapping left and tapping down. However, despite the 45-degree angle being to the left of the octagon that we jump off, we can still force this into a 45-degree jump.
Using Coyote time, Crash can run off the ledge for a little bit and still get a jump.
So basically we want Crash to be here when we perform the diagonal jump. On screen is me performing this jump with inputs. Here you can see I'm off the platform and I'm still only holding left, and then on this following frame you'll see that I begin to hold down. Well, down and left because I'm going diagonally. Although I do only barely make it in this clip, you usually want to hold left for quite a little bit longer than that. Only other tips I really have for this jump is to spin right before you perform it, as spinning is believed to increase Coyote time, or the time you spend in the air before you actually perform the jump. And also to just start holding down on the same frame that you start to jump, if you can help it. It's consistent and it makes you feel like you're worrying about way less inputs at one time. Now I'm going to briefly talk about the diagonal jump onto this vertical platform that I missed here. Honestly, just eyeball this and play it safe. If you see it as it's rising and you're about to jump on it as it's rising and you think you're going to land on it at its peak, just don't go for it.
As far as I know, there isn't actually a situation where this isn't makeable. It's just really hard. Make sure you don't get Coyote time though, and you should be good. Now you should have mask form at this point in completion, but in case you somehow don't, you can get through this box wall in one go. Just make sure you hold spin for your first spin and spin kind of early so that you can get another spin out and avoid getting spin timered.
The second last thing I want to talk about is spinning this TNT stack without stopping moving. The best way that I've found to do this is to keep moving right until you're not actually on the octagonal platform anymore and then perform the diagonal jump. Then for actually spinning the crate itself, I hate to say it, but you kinda just gotta eyeball it. It'll always be when you're about to land, and if you do the diagonal jump the same way every time, then you will just get used to the timing. If you mess it up and spin the TNT, you just kinda have to react and go back onto the platform before you fall off the edge. Now moving on to the worst and scariest skip in the game, it's the gen room pipe skip. If you mess it up, typically one of three things will happen. You'll miss it completely and die, you'll take damage off the pipe and die, you'll take damage and survive, but with a mask on.
And in all of these clips, I only barely miss it. Kind of. So it is a pretty precise trick.
So for actually performing the pipe skip, you want to land sort of on the left side of the pipe, like right where I am right here on this pause frame. And you want to buffer a jump so that you jump as soon as you land on this hot pipe. Buffering a jump is just when you press the jump button a few frames before you land, so that Crash jumps the moment he lands. Now you could set up your own visual cue for this, for example, standing in the middle of this platform and then going left when it's past that pipe in the background. But most visual cues don't really work here because you don't do a full jump onto the pipe, you do a shortened jump onto the pipe. And shortened jumps vary quite a lot and are very difficult to get precise at. You could set up a visual cue so that you do a full long jump going into the pipe skip, however you would need to perform the jump as the octagonal platform is gaining momentum, making it extremely difficult to time, which is why I prefer to eyeball it and do a shortened jump. Eyeballing it is probably not ideal, and if you intend on going for the pipe skip ever, which I can't say I suggest unless you're going for like a 40 and 80%, then you need to practice this more than anything, like a lot, and mess around with it and see which way works for you. So that should be about it for this tutorial. I hope it helped you out a lot. If you have any questions or you need clarification about literally anything, please feel free to leave a comment on this video.
Or join the Crash HD Speedrunning Discord server. There will be a link down in the description, and you can message the Crash 1 Completion channel with relevant questions. Thank you for watching.